We are wrapping up this work week under tons of sunshine, and we're bringing the heat. Hey everyone, Darrell here from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center with a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. We're going to take a look at what's been happening today, the changes we've already gone through, what changes are on the way, and how these are really going to impact our weekend and the beginning of next week. So buckle up, it's going to be fun. Let's start things off looking outside, and across the high desert we have tons of sunshine. However, there are some clouds. Now these clouds are not bringing any precipitation at all, and we actually keep a rain-free forecast through the rest of this evening, Saturday, and most of Sunday. In fact, we don't even get another chance of some showers until really earlier next week. So let's just focus on satellite and radar. There have been a couple of things that have already changed, and we have some PM clouds. Now this in and out cloud cover has just brought our temperatures up and down by a degree here and there, but for the most part, not too much has changed. We're still firmly under the influence of a broad ridge of high pressure. This high pressure stays with us through Saturday and even into Sunday. By Sunday, we start to catch the influence of our next system. And really, the biggest change up that we're looking at through the next couple of days doesn't really come with temperatures. It comes with that cloud cover. And these clouds are going to filter out the sunshine a little bit, but UV intensity stays very high, and we're going to be extremely dry across Central Oregon. So warmer days and more clouds are expected. Highs are still going to be a little hotter with 80s and then into the 90s, and critically dry conditions continue across Central Oregon. Now more clouds are expected, but that chance of showers holds off until mostly Monday and Tuesday. There's a low chance of a few showers by the time we get to Sunday, and even altogether by the time it's all said and done, this chance of rain through the beginning of the work week, some of us are just going to stay dry altogether. Now we've already looked at some of these cameras across Central Oregon, but let's refocus on that enhanced satellite imagery. Now this is infrared satellite imagery, and it helps paint a picture of what's been happening. We do have some of those light clouds across parts of the high desert. Now these are very few and far between, and they're all dry. There's no precipitation with them until you get closer up to Baker City, where you actually see some of those darker blues in the satellite imagery. But over the high desert, nada. No rain in sight, and afternoon winds are getting a little breezy. We can tell this from this graphic because of those white lines. Those white lines are isobars, or lines of constant pressure, equal lines of pressure, if you will. And when they start to get a little bit closer together, that's when it's getting breezy over your area. But let's look at the bigger picture, because this is helping to paint the picture of what's happening across the rest of not just the Pacific Northwest, but the entire West Coast is bone dry, and we're sitting under a whole lot of sunshine. But when we look up just past Vancouver Island, right on the Canada coastline, we see that low pressure. That low is the same low that's actually going to be impacting us here through the next couple of hours. That line of clouds coming off of it is what's been rolling into Central Oregon, and through the day tomorrow that actually increases our cloud cover. But we also see some moisture from a different source. Let's go ahead and talk about that. We are looking at the potential of this high working its way further to the south, or flattening, and that's going to open up the door for some monsoonal moisture. And that really, when I say monsoonal moisture, I'm just talking about subtropical moisture that gets pumped into our area, and that just means not right at the tropics, but a little further north is where that's coming from. Now your forecast model does not have anything in the way of precipitation through the rest of tonight. In fact, very little in the way of cloud cover at all until you get to Saturday afternoon. These clouds still going to be dry. By the time we get to Sunday, the high-resolution forecast model shows more clouds and a chance of some PM showers for parts of the high desert. Now that happened really quickly, and this is a new model run, so it might have taken it out completely. So let's freeze frame at 7 a.m. Sunday, fast forward to noon, and by the afternoon, so the latest forecast model for this high-resolution forecast model, it actually shows that there isn't going to be any rain at all on Sunday, which is great because that's actually lining up with the forecast. I actually took that out earlier today. Now, temperatures today topped out in the 90s with some 80s on the map. Look at Bend, Redmond, Madras, and Prineville all topped out at 90 degrees. We got up to 93 in Paulina and 96 in Warm Springs. We only had 80s in our higher elevations, and that's in the last 24 hours. In fact, we're actually running a few degrees cooler to a few degrees warmer than it was this time yesterday, so that means temperatures are largely unchanged from 24 hours ago, 80s and 90s. And that's where we're sitting right now. We actually still have 93 in Warm Springs. And our relative humidity, keep in mind this is measured in percentages, it is bone dry. RH is sitting in the teens with some single digits out there and even 21% humidity in Sisters. Now this is very dry. For this time of the year, it's actually close to average, but when you add in the critically dry conditions with the winds that are going to be a little breezy at times, especially during the afternoon, any fires that start are likely to spread rapidly, and this is the main driver of the potential for some fire activity. In fact, when we go ahead and look at the weather alerts, there is a red flag warning just to our south, mostly over Klamath and Lake counties, and that's until 9 p.m. on Sunday. So any fires that start are likely to spread rapidly. And when we look at our temperatures, it's warm right now. A warm evening is expected, coming into pleasant temperatures by 11 o'clock, still in the 60s, then 40s are expected with some 50s for our lows. That's going to be through the early morning hours. And then by tomorrow, we're topping out in the mid to upper 80s with some 90s. On top of that, 80s and 90s, we have tons of sunshine tomorrow. Now, more PM clouds are expected, but our UV intensity is still going to be very high. In fact, it's still going to be very high on Sunday, but notice we go from a 10 to an 8 and then to a 5. That's because more cloud cover is on the way. Once this monsoonal moisture really pushes into the Pacific Northwest, that subtropical moisture is going to bring enough cloud cover to knock down our UV intensity forecast. But all the way through this weekend, it's still going to be very high. You'll want to use your sunscreen and stay hydrated. By Monday, moderate. By Tuesday, we're cranking it back up. So let's talk about this weather pattern. Let's talk about this subtropical moisture. And we're actually going to restart this graphic in a little bit. I just want to back it out a little bit. Okay, so there's a high pressure mostly over Utah and the Four Corners region. There's a low pressure just off of Vancouver Island. And all of that flow right in between the two, that's what's pumping up that subtropical moisture from just north of the tropics right into the Pacific Northwest. This is going to do a couple things, but it's also not going to do something. So let's talk about the differences between the two. Let's go ahead and reset this graphic. And here's what we're expecting. This subtropical moisture, this monsoonal moisture flow, is going to bring more clouds into the high desert Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. By Sunday and Monday, we get a chance of some showers. By Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance of some showers with some thunderstorm potential as well. And all said and done, we're not looking at a washout from this moisture tap coming in from the subtropics, but what we are expecting is a shift in our weather pattern that includes more cloud cover and higher humidity values through the afternoon. Even now, keep in mind, we're still in the high desert. We're not looking at humidity values that are going to be 50 to 70% like the coast or the Gulf Coast or anything like that. But what we are expecting is enough to keep that critically dry air mass not as critically dry. And so that's going to help for fire conditions, but for the most part, when the surface fuels are already cured and winds are going to be breezy each afternoon with no precipitation in sight until we get to the beginning of next week, we still have a chance of elevated fire danger. So by Saturday, highs in the 80s and 90s, that moisture rolling into the Pacific Northwest with more clouds. By Sunday, still 80s and some 90s. By Monday, 90s with some 80s. That's when we finally catch a chance for some showers, but it's just not going to be a lot. We'll look again at the high resolution and the operational precipitation maps here in just a little bit, but just know that there is going to be that chance of some rain. And when it comes to temperatures, we're eventually heating up into the lower 90s Monday and Tuesday, then it starts to come back down, and each day brings a little bit of a different shift in our weather pattern. So this is the forecast model that we use on air every night. The very next one is going to be a completely different one, and this is even different than the one that we had for the high resolution one. But we're going to compare and contrast some of the similarities and differences from the next two forecast models. So here through the overnight hours of most of Saturday, staying mostly clear. By Saturday PM, some clouds. By Sunday, we have, let's see, it took out that whole chance of rain, just like the high resolution one did. So we're not looking at much in the way of rain chances Sunday. By Monday and Tuesday, a few showers, and any showers that develop, we're tracking for the potential of thunderstorm activity. So let's look at the long range forecast model, the GFS, and it helps paint a picture of what's going to happen past Tuesday, including Tuesday. And this one is one we typically do not use on air because it just doesn't have good resolution, but it goes out further, so it helps paint that picture. By Saturday, more clouds. By Sunday, even more clouds, still no rain. By Monday, more clouds with times of sunshine and low rain chances. By Tuesday, some showers. Not much in the way of thunderstorm activity, but really any showers that develop, we're going to track for the potential of thunderstorms. Now, this specific forecast model keeps those rain chances to Tuesday, but the other one had a few showers on Monday as well. That's why it's in both days on the 7-day planner. It's really going to be very hit and miss with where these pop up. By Thursday and Friday, back to sunshine, back to heating across the high desert, and then by Saturday, still mostly sunny. So between now and Monday at 11 p.m., some showers possible. Between now and Thursday at 5 p.m., showers possible, but not everybody getting wet. And then when it comes to winds, some of those gusts are between 30 and 35 miles per hour right now. So we have some gusty conditions across the high desert. Now, actual wind speeds are more like 5 to 15 miles per hour, 10 to 20 for some of our other parts of Central Oregon away from the east slopes of the Cascades. Now, these breezy winds taper off overnight, come back on Saturday, and then again on Sunday. Notice each day, it's just going to be during the afternoon and evening hours when it's breezy at times. So for tonight, expect 40s with some 50s. By Saturday, 80s and 90s, and 80s and 90s will be the theme through this week. And by next week, 90s with some 80s. Ups and downs in temperatures are expected. Monday and Tuesday will be breezy, but each afternoon is going to get a little breezy. And then by this time next week, mid-90s expected. So, your weather headlines for this Friday, July the 10th include a warm weekend across the high desert. It's going to be very dry, critically dry, with more clouds each day, and PM breezes are expected. A few sprinkles are possible Sunday, but the better chance of rain holds off until Monday and Tuesday, and as of right now, just some light clouds. Let's zoom out. There is no rain in sight. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. That next show is at 6 o'clock. It's going to be an hour-long show on both ABC and CBS, and then again on CBS after that, 11 p.m. on both shows. That's it. We'll see y'all later. Have a good one and have a great weekend. Also, stay hydrated and use that sunscreen.